To you, my mother Gail and sister Ariana.
We gotta be kidding me.
Tonight. I can't tell you, to look around and see so many friendly faces and people that I know, it's such a wonderful feeling. It's a special, special day for our family, of course. Believe it or not, 2 years ago today. Shocked the political world by becoming your U.S. Senator. I don't even need to tell you that it was a proud and historic moment, and nobody was prouder of Scott than me. I wasn't so sure it was a good idea. You know, after we talked about it a lot, I could see just how much he cared. And I really believed what he believed, that America deserved more than it was getting from Washington. And that he could do it better if he had the chance. Sure if everyone else would know he was right, and I wasn't sure of his chances of winning. But after 25 years of marriage, I guess I should have known Scott Brown. Scott is the hardest working, most honest and earnest person I've ever known. You've come to know those qualities in Scott. You've seen them yourselves. But I want to take a minute tonight to talk not about the senator, but about my husband and about the father of our 2 daughters. You know, anyone that's read Scott's book knows that Scott did not have it easy growing up. With a lot of hard work and a lot of great people around him, though, he overcame a childhood of abuse and poverty. It didn't break him. In fact, it made him stronger. Even more devoted to me as his wife and to our children. I've come to understand that those challenges made him who he is today. They're also what have shaped his values and his character. He understands the devastation of joblessness. He's been there. He understands what it's like to be hungry. He's been there. He understands constant uncertainty and fear. He's been there. He's learned to be strong and self-reliant. His past has made him determined to be a better husband and a better father than he ever knew. He made that personal vow to his family, and he has very much kept his word. Scott didn't do it alone. The immense opportunities that were available were possible because of this great country that we live in, America. It's America that made a poor boy, with all the odds stacked against him, work hard, get an education, buy a home, raise a family, and pass along the kind of hope and opportunity to his children that he didn't have. And that's the kind of America that he doesn't want to slip away. That's why he needs to stay in Washington. He is trustworthy, he is compassionate, a as a public servant. He's a credit to our state of Massachusetts and to our country. He's got my vote. He had to work very hard for it, let me tell you. But I really, really hope that he has yours too. I'd like to introduce my husband, your United States Senator.
Worcester again, especially with so many friends from here and across the state. So thank you very much. And you all look like my Gail Baker. I'm glad I have your vote finally. Thank you. Now I just need Ayla's and Ariana's and I'll be all set and all yours. But it is another big day for our family, and we thank you all for coming out to share it with us. Now, many of you were here at Mechanics Hall 2 years ago, and in the closing hours of a tough and memorable campaign, Worcester was the perfect place to wrap it up that time period. In January of 2010, I can't believe it was 2010, 2 years ago today. Amazing. So the way I figure, what better place to start the winning campaign of 2012? Watching, waiting to see what would happen in Massachusetts. After we lost Ted Kennedy, there was suddenly a vacancy in the United States Senate. And for the political establishment, it came down to a simple question. Which Democrat would move into the seat? Now, for years, everyone knew what the deal was in the state. You get chosen by the machine, you kind of go along to get along, please the right people, and the rest is easy. Well, we had a different idea, didn't we? Elections aren't supposed to be easy, and public offices do not belong to any party by right. That's right, 2 years. And 2 years ago, you sent the establishment a very, very powerful message. A message that still resonates today. We won 2 years ago because we respected voters enough to give them a choice. And as I said many times in that special election, it is your choice, and it is still the people's seat. It's not the establishment seat, it's not the Democrat seat, it's still the people's seat, it's your seat! And I'm going to tell you, for anyone who's running in this seat and running for this seat, it still has to be earned. And that's what brings us here today. And let me just say, I'm honored. Aside from my marriage and the birth of my kids, I'm honored to be your United States Senator. And I'm running for re-election to the United States Senate, and I ask for your vote. machine. We all know about it. They didn't like being challenged then, and they really don't like it any better now. They want to get things, back to normal as quickly as possible. And we all know what normal means for them. It means we go back to one party, one way of thinking, one way of voting, just going in lockstep and doing what you're told. That's what they want. Well, let me tell you, that old go along, get along mentality, you know it, I know it, it's got to stop here, and it's got to stop right now. Here at all if I was worried about the long odds. And once again, I'm going to run hard and keep my focus. I'm going to campaign on the issues, not take a single vote for granted, and speak directly to you, the people of this great state. Certainly not the one up in Beacon Hill, and definitely not the one down in Capitol Hill, trust me. All I'm going to have going for me is my independent record as your United States Senator, and the independent spirit of you, the Massachusetts voter. So thank you very much for that. I'll take those advantages any day over the political machine. Any day. With your help in this campaign, we will beat the odds again together. A lot of people these days feel like they're up against tough odds because we still have a jobs crisis in this country. The governing establishment promised to get the economy moving again, but that effort has failed. And with new liabilities like Obamacare, they have added a debt crisis as well. Let me ask you, how do you know when the political class is borrowing and spending the country towards disaster? I mean, I say it's pretty simple. A short sign is when the credit rating of the United States of America is downgraded. And that's where the tax and spend attitude in Washington is taking us. I mean, that's just the way it is. But you know what? Elections are about accountability, and establishment candidates will have a lot of explaining to do. They'll try again and again to try to talk about something else during this election cycle. They'll wage class warfare, pitting one group of Americans against another, and quite frankly, that's not right. They will listen. They're going to listen. They are going to attack success in our free enterprise system. They will use terms like us and them. Listen, my campaign, our campaign, will always be about we the people. More people in Washington who are willing to think for themselves and work with each other for the good of America. 2 years ago, I pledged to work with colleagues in the delegation, and I've done so. I've told the voters that I wouldn't be just another loud, angry partisan because, let me tell you, Washington has too many of those already, trust me. I promise to be an independent voice for you because Washington has too few of those serving right now. And I don't worry about the party line. I don't get caught up in the petty fights. I always remember why I'm there and who sent me. I am still nobody's senator but yours. On the merits, and I ask, listen, what's best for Massachusetts? I actually read the bills, folks. Trust me, not everyone can say that. I make sure I understand our debt, our deficit, and then I cast my vote, regardless of party. At times, I've been the 41st vote to stop a bad idea. Other times, I've been proud to be the 60th vote to pass a good idea and move our country forward. Our one unfinished fight, quite frankly, is the fight to get rid of Obamacare. Takeover of healthcare was a bad idea to start with, and the way it was rammed through Congress was even worse. And don't forget, when they did that, when they rammed it through Congress, listen, the only people that cut $500 billion from Medicare were the Democrats when they did that. Okay? The misuse of the Senate rules, the bullying, the backroom deals, listen, I saw it at first hand, and I knew it could not possibly be in the interest of this great country, because I was always taught that good laws are passed by honest means, and this wasn't one of them. I was against Obamacare then, and I'm against it now. $4.5 trillion in just 3 years. And now it's greater than the gross domestic product of this nation. And no matter what clever ideas, and arguments they're going to try to throw at you to justify the 15 and soon 60 to $17 trillion of national debt. Let me tell you something. All this borrowed money is buying us big trouble. Big trouble. And the warning signs are everywhere. If you want to understand what happens when a government adopts a philosophy that you can tax, borrow, and spend your way to economic security and prosperity, well, you just need to look to Europe, folks. And, there, nation after nation is in crisis, and as a result of bloated government spending, financed by high taxes and large deficits, that's what happens. Despite the failure of this model in Europe, some in our own country still want to emulate it. And quite frankly, that is a bad idea. Yeah, make it worse is right. And listen, if any national problem calls for independent thinking, this is it. We need Republicans and Democrats alike who want to work together to protect the fiscal integrity of this United States. Far too much of your hard-earned money, it's a guarantee that my opponent will fall right in line with the Washington mindset of more spending, more debt, and more taxes to bail out the big spenders. And that's a debate I welcome each and every day. Because in 2012, I will run proudly as the only candidate in this race that supports a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Washington too. Right? And that would be a monumental reform. And the day is coming, and I know it can be done. I've seen how it works in Washington, but I've also seen how it's supposed to work. Like when Congress repealed a new withholding tax a few months ago that directly affects small businesses, contractors, and entities doing work with the government. When I introduced the bill to repeal this tax, I was absolutely convinced that both parties would support it and the president would actually sign it, which is just how it turned out. And I didn't go down there and make my case only to Republicans. I reached out to everyone, because I prefer making progress to making enemies. And that... Down in Washington, that will get you a long, long way. And in that same bill, we're able to give a tax credit to businesses that do the right thing to hire unemployed veterans. Because no soldier should come home from fighting in Afghanistan or Iraq, only to have to fight for a job at home. Shouldn't have to happen. I've worked with senators from both parties on all kinds of issues, whether it was in protecting our air and coastline, passing trade agreements to support manufacturing jobs, or making sure that Wall Street bankers don't act like casino bosses with your money. And in government you can argue forever. Trust me, in government you can argue forever. And try to be the one who wins by shouting the loudest. Trust me, they do it all the time. Or you can get serious, assume the good faith of others, and do the much harder work of solving the problems that just can't wait. And let's look at a few of those issues, shall we? Let's look at a couple of the issues. Our seniors. Our seniors depend on Social Security and Medicare. And it's our responsibility to keep those programs solid and secure without raising taxes. In addition, our economy is undermined by a tax code that is unfair and too complicated. And it's our job to reform it in a way that doesn't fuel more spending, but lowers overall rates for everyone. Stopping illegal immigration is because the magnets we create, like in-state tuition, breaks for people. That brings more people into this state in violation of the law and into this country, and it should stop. Whatever reforms come later on, it's our duty. It's our absolute duty right now to enforce the law and secure the border of the United States of America. As long as I'm your senator, I will work with any person of goodwill in Congress who is ready to confront these challenges and be part of the solution. When you're looking for friends and not just for fights. And this point is one of the defining, and will be one of the defining differences in the choice Massachusetts voters will have in this upcoming race. My likely opponent, Professor Warren, is a hard-working, talented, and accomplished academic. She's got the other side, she's got the other side pretty excited. She talks about how she is a, quote, rock thrower. And rather than compromise, she prefers to leave blood and teeth on the floor. Well, you know what? That sure doesn't sound like the kind of compromise and progress this country needs right now. Listen, I'm a bridge builder, not a rock thrower. What the nation could really use right now is a little more respect, goodwill, and bipartisanship. I may disappoint the rock throwers and occupiers on both extremes, but that's how I will try to show the really goodness of our state and the goodness of our country. And I think it's the way to serve the interests that we all share as Americans. Try to solve problems, bring people together, move our country forward. And this is going to be a tough campaign. I understand that, and so do you. And no doubt about it. But, you know, when it's voting time, when it's actually voting time, push the button. Check out the box. Every citizen is going to have the benefit of a very good choice. If you think the job of the United States Senator is to give angry lectures and inspire protests and take orders from the Washington establishment, well, you'll have that option. But if you're looking for a senator who can truly speak for the working people of this state at a rough time for our country, who doesn't care to be part of the establishment, only part of the solution, well, I will again offer you that. people come right here at Worcester looking for jobs. Some are in their third or fourth year of looking for jobs. They're waiting to catch a break. And a lot of us know that feeling ourselves. I know you do. And across this state are middle-class parents with kids in college and a lot of bills to pay. They have two incomes. They work hard. You know what? They hear themselves being called rich by the politicians who think they get to decide what American families can keep at the end of the week. It doesn't make any sense. So we're talking about policemen, teachers, nurses, and small business people who have jobs. They're working overtime, and they're already paying some of the highest taxes in America. Listen, where's this stop? I mean, what's next? Where is it going to stop? And these are the same men and women who turned a long shot, regular guy, into the United States Senate. Those same people came through for me. No, you know what? Actually, it was you guys. It was all of you and everybody listening on the TVs that came through for me. And I have tried each and every day in the United States Senate to come through for you. My job in the Senate has been all that I thought it would be, with some tough days, some close votes, great experience down there, and great experiences all across Massachusetts. Some of the best days came last summer when I was sent for training in Afghanistan as a member of the Army National Guard. It put me in the company of people that I admire more than any others in public service, the men and women of our armed services. Nothing that I or anyone else in the world of politics does can come close to the sacrifices made by our military in defending this nation and our freedoms around the world. Thank you to our men and women that are serving and continue to serve with strength. Reminded me that when we put our country first, look past the party demands, and join together to solve problems, whatever else may separate us, remember, we are Americans first. Let me say that again, we're Americans first, and to me that means that we have to work together when our country needs it the most to push our country forward and start to solve problems together right now. I've had for 32 years in the Guard gives me perspective, especially as we head into a political contest. Whatever the race brings, I will be ready to take it on because the stakes are high and worthy of our efforts. And 2 years ago, the campaign for the People's Seat began with a small group of supporters, which ended up being a very large group of supporters. And it grew into not just a campaign in our living room, but it turned into the People's Campaign. I didn't do it alone then. I can't do it alone now. Once again, I ask for your help, all the help you can give. And above all, I ask you for the honor of your vote. Massachusetts, that if I am once again entrusted with the People's Seat, I will give everything that is in me to be a good and faithful senator and to make you proud. Listen, I know that you're all very, very busy, and I just want to thank you all for coming up and and spending a little bit of time with us, and I want to thank my family and friends, which includes all of you, but one of the things I really want to say is, go